And David, your view of whether Bill Barr is in the ballpark or not when he says there's already a technical case to indict here?
I'm not quick to always agree with former Attorney General Barr, but in this case, I think technically yes. But look, there's more to this case if you're going to prosecute it than just saying he had the goods in his desk, he had them in his closet, and so forth. What I would do is, what I'm sure the prosecutors and the agents are doing are going back and going to follow the trail from where these documents originated to where they ended up and try to understand what role and, more importantly, what knowledge did the former president have in where they were going and how they got there and how they were stored, which I don't think is going to be too difficult to do. And I agree with Frank, but look, I don't know how big a roadblock this is or a speed bump it is in the investigation for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think the government would do anything on the eve of an election. And two, I think there's a lot they can get done along those lines that I just said in terms of following the trail of documents without having focus on a specific document, because we're talking about tranches of documents and how they traveled. So I disagree. I mean, I do agree with the former Attorney General. I think I also agree with him that I think the opinion is seriously flawed. But as a practical matter, I don't think it's really going to be too much of a hindrance, number one. Number two, at the end of the day, where I kind of hate to say this, but I think I'd have to agree that if there's a group of constituents out there that think this adds fairness to the process, then let it be. I think there's unfairness to the process, too, because he's getting special treatment. But that kind of goes beyond your question.
Well, no, I hear you on all that. I think the whole thing could be sorted in months, and they definitely gave him extra months in the process before they even executed the search. So clearly the DOJ has decided before that it's not at the so-called ticking time bomb level. And that's why I think the special master thing is to some degree can feel like a sideshow. But then there were other details in the opinion that were just, bananas. I want to play for you, David, a little more of what we're hearing on Fox, including Barr. Take a listen.
There is no scenario legally under which the president gets to keep the government documents, whether it's classified or unclassified. If it deals with government stuff and it's government, it goes back to the government.
But then, if true, this Washington Post report, highly classified documents at Mar-a-Lago that only a cabinet-level officer or higher could even look at, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing you should have in your post-presidential desk drawer.
David, what do you think's going on over there?
Well, look, I agree. There is, and that goes back to this opinion by the judge, right? There is this notion of executive privilege is a complete red herring. I mean, the likelihood of him being able to assert executive privilege over these particular documents is far-fetched, number one. The attorney-client privilege, likewise, it's probably extraneous things that the government said will return to him, like as in every case. I think there's some folks who would, in the Trump camp, like to look at this as a storage issue. It's not a storage issue. I mean, that's one of the issues, the storage of documents that are incredibly sensitive. But you got to understand what is going through his mind. And frankly, I'm willing to say this is like a criminal mind, because you're
criminal, David. I mean, David, any bank robbery is a storage issue if you want to say that the bank robber wanted to store the money he stole somewhere other than the bank.
Yeah, it's a storage issue insofar as you're criminally possessing something you're not supposed to be possessing. So if you want to call that a storage issue, call it criminal storage, if you will.
Criminal storage, yeah, there you go. And that goes to where, again, you're both here as experts on law, intel, and the intersection, not what's going on in Congress. But Frank, I did want to play for you the migration we've seen from these officials. And I know everyone says everything's political, but these are also people, some of whom have their own role in intelligence and legislating. And if they are serious people, maybe they're learning things that makes them less likely to keep defending Trump in public, even if they're in the same party. Take a look.
I'm not saying I'm not concerned about the whole situation. I'm just saying I don't have the facts.
What I have a lot of concerns about is the FBI raiding the home of the likely presidential nominee in 2024, the former president of the United States.
I don't really have any comments on this.
Because, Frank, sometimes you have no comment on major issues that affect the national security of the United States. There seems to be, for some of them, a migration. Your thoughts on all the above, Frank?
Yeah, look, the facts as they keep coming out, I think, surprise even the staunchest Trump defenders. And I think some of this may have, quite frankly, even astonished the DOJ, because it wasn't until that search warrant application, right, that until they went in there, they executed the warrant, that they actually were staring face to face with highly classified allegedly a nuclear related document involving the capabilities of a foreign power. And Ari, I have to tell you, these were counterintelligence agents, seasoned counterintelligence agents from Washington field office, from Miami field office. Even they didn't have the appropriate clearance to see some of these documents. You have to understand how astonishing that is, right? And so that gets into the area of nuclear special access programs, which you have to be read in and out of. I've had special access program accesses that I've had to get polygraphed into and polygraphed out of. And I'm pretty sure the guy serving the Diet Coke to Trump in his office at Mar-a-Lago probably didn't have the polygraph.
How did you know it was a Diet Coke?
Because he drinks reportedly 12 a day, and he did when he was in the Oval Office. So there you have it. Well,
David, last question. Should drinking 12 Diet Cokes a day also be a crime?
Well, it depends on how you look at it, I
Or a
guess.
storage problem.
I think it could be indicative of somebody who is prone to commit a crime.
We keep it light here, even amidst the serious stuff. Health is way outside of my purview. But it does sound like a lot of soda or pop or whatever you want to call it as a final thought. Frank and David, thanks to both of you.